Hello, Bike Shed Unlocked. I am Mike and I'm going to talk to you about my BMW R100S 1976 model. I'm going to return magically to my driveway in a minute and also wind back the clock to yesterday before I actually took it for a ride, just to tell you a bit about the bike and how I built it. But I have just been on a ride for it and it's been beautiful. It's a lovely day today. It's going around the corners, it's pulling. I love this bike, I really love it. And every time I get back on it again, I just fall in love with it all over again, and it reminds me why I love this bike and why I keep it and why I'll never sell it. Part of it is because of all the blood, sweat, tears, swearing that I put into it, but also it's just a beautiful bike. It's lovely, it turns heads. It does that partly because the brakes squeak so much, but partly because it is a good looking bike. And I just really think that if you're going to start building, start with one of these. It's so easy, right? If you can't really get that many cheap ones anymore that are in good condition because everyone knows that, and they turn into such beautiful bikes with relatively little effort. And someone like myself, who's a total novice, can achieve something like this. I hope that my next build will be a little bit more imaginative. This is kind of what you would see on the shed pages from years ago, but I really love it. And let's go to the driveway. Built it a few years ago. Those of you who do the London DGR would have seen it a few times, particularly last year, leaving oil all over Canary Wharf, which I'll come on to in a minute. And some of you will remember the hilarity of my lithium-ion battery bursting into flames on the side of the M25 and nearly missing one of the DGRs as well. I built this, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, my first attempt at building a bike. My good friend Nick Hughes, who was I think in the very first Bike Shed show with his Panther that he built, his Ducati Panther, helped me a lot with the rear subframe and getting it going. And YouTube was an awesome resource. I also have the Clymer manual somewhere for the BMW Airheads. It's a massive book. Here it is. So it is literally the Bible for these bikes. And if you think about a Haynes manual on steroids, this is it. It's phenomenal. And I use this mainly for things like wiring and a few other bits and bobs where I couldn't kind of work out how things worked. So let's have a little walk around the bike. So I'll stick a photo in seamlessly here in the edit to show you what it looked like when I picked it up. It was actually a pretty tidy 1976 R100S with a nice little fairing on it. I sold all that off when I did all the work on it. I did a lot of off-the-shelf stuff, so through a combination of eBay, flatracer.com, a bit of Down and Out, and a few other folks bought the various bits and bobs. So if we go from front to back, what I've done, and I'll kind of talk you through it. We've got new headlight, new brackets, fallen down a bit, and you can lift them up. Front fender with nice mounts there. I put new calipers on and new pads. They squeak a lot, so I need to do some work on it. And put also a new brake reservoir, which is under here. So it's weirdly, I guess not weirdly, but it's got the, it's cabled to the reservoir. And then on from there, I put a new bar on, new grips, new controls. So you got these funky little buttons on here. And that runs to a little Motor Gadget M button, which is sat under here. And then underneath the seat is a Motor Gadget M unit. The airbox took out, put on these Mikuni carbs, which run so much better than the Bings. I hate the Bings. I used to have to stop kind of every 20 miles or so and adjust them. Don't know why, but they're just really, really bad. Changed the rear sets and put these nice ones on, these Tarozzi ones, which are a beautiful piece of work. A little bit hard work to get them quite right, but they're really nice. And I got these little megaphone exhausts from eBay. So the rear subframe I got from Vonzetti years ago, and it's a good thing about these bikes is just a couple of bolts. So one there, and obviously the shocks, and the whole subframe comes off. So they're really easy to change the look and feel of them without putting too much effort into them. So I think this is I mean, obviously I like it because I bought it and I kept it on there. Nice sort of brown leatherette seat, rear subframe, and new rear fender, lights, plate, etc. The battery, this is the Odyssey battery now that's in there now. This is a great battery. It doesn't burst into flames. I did have an anti-gravity lithium-ion battery in there, and I'd upgraded the regulator, although since I upgraded it, the website I bought it from has stopped saying it's safe for lithium-ion batteries, which is interesting because mine burst into flames. It was actually tucked up here, so there's a lot more space there. It opens up. It looks much better with it on it, but frankly, after my experience, I'm not gonna go back in anytime soon. You can see burnt off a lot of the paint here, so I've done a really bad job of patching that up there, and it's left some residue still on the fender there, which I'll clear off at some point. But I really enjoyed building it because it taught me a lot about how these things work. You know, I've had the cylinder heads off, I've had the top off, I had to replace the starter motor, I had to replace the ignition, I rewired the whole bike with a motor gadget in there. And for me, this is more about learning how bikes work and learning how the mechanics of a motor vehicle work, because I've never done anything like this before. My builds since these have been much less ambitious. I mean, bits and bobs. I'm doing one at the moment which will be a little bit more ambitious, where I'm changing a lot more of the bodywork and rewiring it as well. But for me, if you're going to start building a bike, something like this is perfect because there's no computer in there. There's just wires and cables and chains and oil, and it's pretty straightforward, and they're so reliable. This thing, and it pulls so well for a 40-odd-year-old bike. You know, it's 44 years old now. It will start on the button, and I'll try it in a minute, and it just goes. I'm finished, of course. You'd never finish these bikes. I would love to change the headlight bracket, for example, have a look at these dials, and these are the standard ones. All the lights work, which is kind of cool. It took a while to work out how that where all the wires went and how that worked, but I'd like to change that for something a little bit simpler. Maybe put some clip-ons on. Depends how well my physio on my back goes. But yeah, I love this bike. Oh, and fix the squeaking brakes. I'll probably do that as well. I know Ben Bowers was sat next to me for most of the DGR, just hearing my brakes going ee, 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 and it can get quite frustrating. So it's May 2020. And I haven't started this since the end of September 2019, when we came back from a very, very wet DGR. So let's see how we do. Okay, I've had it on charge at least, so that's something. And I've switched the fuel on, which in a previous cut of this video I did not do, and chokes on, and let's see. Look at that. So there we are. There's my bike, and yeah, as you can tell, I love this bike. I think it's a great bike to start building as a first build. I would recommend, if you don't get one of these, certainly get an easy bike with a carb, not an ECU, not injection. Just keep it simple so that you can easily trace faults as well. If you enjoyed the video, great. If you didn't enjoy the video, keep that to yourself. I've enjoyed making it, and I hope someone's learned something about how to build their next bike, or is inspired to do something. And if this is a competition, because I'm not really sure if it is, I just want to make it very clear that I know where everyone lives. Oh look, not been here very long, but oh, there's some oil dripping already.